The state of fearlessness, as it is described in the dictionary, lack of fear, is not realistic. To be fearless means to not react or give in. By virtue of being human, we all experience fear. So, on a daily basis, in our professional and personal lives, we face choices. Some insignificant and some quite complex. And of all the choices we face, the simple act of asking is often the most difficult thing we face. But in order to get to what we want, we must ask. If you don't ask, you don't get the girl. If you don't ask, you just don't get. So by the time I was 29, I had sold my first business. I'd lived through 9/11 in New York. I'd worked for 2 prestigious agencies to advance my business and taxation knowledge, and was ready to embark on my second enterprise. Because of my unique IT and financial background, I was able to recognize a void in the market and started an agency, an efficient agency called Project Untangle. 2 weeks after I started this business, I had an opportunity to pitch my company to a very prestigious museum. So to put my situation in perspective for you, at the time of this pitch, I had already quit my job. I had no other clients and no other source of income. So I needed this contract, and the stakes were high. I met with my client and presented a proposal. What did he say? Are you crazy? I don't have this kind of budget. And I have 2 other proposals that are 1/3 of your proposal. I can't pay you this. So this situation is the most dreaded moment in any entrepreneur's life or anyone who's negotiating a compensation. Fear of rejection, fear of looking silly, fear of someone invalidating your self-worth are the reasons why we often don't ask. So at this moment, I had 3 options. One was to give in to my fear of losing this contract and settling for the smaller amount. I really needed the money, so I should have really thought about accepting this offer. But I knew that if I did that, I would perhaps compromise the quality of the project and possibly my reputation. The second option was to give up the job, was to walk away and not even question the validity of the other 2 contracts. The third option was to make my case again and perhaps offer a reasonable compromise. So instead of panicking, giving in, and giving up, I chose to see his no as an opportunity to convince him otherwise. I recited my unique background and accomplishments again and explained to him that the solution that I was offering was fundamentally different than the other 2. My solutions were long-term, would grow with his business, and eventually save him more money. Was I nervous? Was I worried about not getting the job? Of course I was. But I wasn't going to compromise the integrity of my work and my self-worth. I left my client knowing that I really fought a good fight. I'd like to play you a clip.
I want to ask you a question straight out, flat out, and I want you to give me the honest answer. What do you think the chances are of a guy like you and a girl like me ending up together?
Well, Lloyd, that's difficult to say. We really don't...
Hit me with it. Just give it to me straight. I came a long way just to see you married. Just, least you can do is level with me. What are my chances?
Not good.
You mean not good like 1 out of 100?
I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Don't you love his confidence? 1 out of 100, really? I am not afraid of being this guy. So I barely made it home from my meeting, and I received a phone call from my client. Now, any salesperson will tell you that when your client starts asking you questions, you've got their attention. It's a good sign. So I had his attention. Over the course of the 2 days, he called multiple times and had more specific questions. On the 3rd day, he called me and said, come and pick up your deposit for the full proposed amount. So it pays to be this optimistic. When you don't ask for what you want, you're saying no to yourself. Asking is perhaps the most fearless action you can take.